I would be now welcoming Mr. Mukesh Khetrupal. Mr. Khetrupal, sir, I welcome you very much. How are you?
Fine. Thank you. Thank you so much, Saurabh. Yeah.
It is so
Uh,
good to see you, sir.
yeah. No, I am so excited to, host this program for you. And I have with me Purusa, you know, uh, uh, Mr. Rajagopalan Purushottam, sir. Okay. Um,
Welcome,
Good
welcome, sir.
evening. Good evening, Purusa.
Oh, thank you very much, Mukeshji, and thanks for Saurabh and also all the participants. A very warm good evening.
Yes, sir. Well, sir, before we plunge into the program, I just like to say a few words. I have been very fortunate to have worked closely with Purusa, on a few projects. I've always found him to be an extremely professional, humane, and very person-centric, professional. We've been through various challenges, and hence, the fact that he is a master of emotional intelligence does not come as a surprise to me. He is an author. He has his book under print, which will shortly get released. He's doing his PhD, and I've had intense discussions with him on this subject of emotional intelligence. However, before we go further into the program, sir, I'd like to, just put into perspective of where does emotional intelligence today stand in our society that we live in. Be it the school or the college, the evaluation process is one of trying to maximize your marks on a CBSE platform where children are scoring 97, 98, 99, and some even 100%. The scores are based purely on academic outcome. After you do your schooling, you make an entrance test and you apply for an IIT or a medical course or become a chartered accountant. And there too, you're tested on your, if I may say, intelligent quotient, which is to do with your ability to perform on certain functional topics. We go into the corporate, it doesn't end there. You're supposed to deliver certain top lines and bottom lines and output numbers, which are all, based on the intellectual, I'd say the intelligence quotient being quantitative in nature. So is it that we've got it all wrong so far? Where does there's a lot of buzz about emotional intelligence in today's context. So what exactly is being intelligent mean? Where does this emotion come into play? This was not the understanding that we had for, what intelligence or the way we read intelligence to be. So will you, please throw us some light on this very, very important topic, and yet, we have so far been going in a completely different tangent on this subject so far. Purusa, please.
Thank you, Mukeshji. First of all, thank you for your glorious introduction. I reciprocate the feelings that I have whenever I work with you. You are a thorough professional. You are passionate about learning and development. That's what I love about you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, wonderful question. This is a paradigm shift in our mind that we need to go through. Let us ask a few questions, which Saurabh was also initiating and kindling the minds of people before we started the session.
Right.
Is there a relationship between academic score and effectiveness in life? Let's answer this question honestly. From all the experiences that we have seen of people around us, is there a direct correlation between academic performance and effectiveness in life? I'm carefully using the word effectiveness in multiple aspects of life. Do you think the toppers in academics are the one who make the best entrepreneurs, the best CEOs, the best parents, the best stockbrokers, the best environmentalists? I think honestly, we would probably conclude that it is not so. There could be some people. And we are no way here to underwrite the importance of academics. No way. But the only challenge is we have been probably a little lopsided, extremely lopsided, because of the past construct of our education system, which was designed for a different industrial revolution. It was designed for the first and second industrial revolution, which is the industrial area, industrial post the World War, where you need to do repetitive jobs, you need to do some mathematical skills, you have to do clerical skills. The Britishers, the Macaulay's education system was brought in to communicate with the Indians better. And they wanted to create clerks. They wanted to create people who could do their work. So they designed for that. So that education system is so strongly embedded in the system, and you're not able to get away from its clasp so much. But I can tell you the time has come and the realization is sinking in among many people that this need to be questioned. Now, the other aspect is we have made heroes out of men and women who scored very high in academics and made some of the brilliant kids look like dumb children just because they could not do certain academic subjects more. IQ is predominantly defined as logical and mathematical intelligence. There are multiple intelligence according to the recent research. There's a Gartner multiple intelligence theory. Every 3 years he's adding one new intelligence to it. So you have mathematical and logical intelligence, you have spatial intelligence, someone who writes poetry, someone who imagines, someone who's a painter, kinesthetic intelligence, who is a sportsman, intrapersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, your naturalistic intelligence. Now they also call essential intelligence, or we call it as practical intelligence. Someone, a farmer in a hinterland in India is able to invent an innovative harvesting machine with no formal education, with just about a certain amount of mechanics that he knows. That's practical intelligence. So none of this has been recognized. And just to add this point, intrapersonal and interpersonal, that means understanding your own self and understanding and relating to other people. This stems from emotional intelligence. These two intelligences are very closely related to EI, for that matter. I will.
So if I may just, butt in here and say, are you saying that it's the heart over the head, or is it the head over the heart, or is it the balance of the two? I mean, what exactly, is the balance of this?
Very rightly said. That's the heart, the core of emotional intelligence. The way that I have defined it in my book is that the 4-step process. First step of emotional intelligence is the ability to read the messages and the stimulus from the environment accurately. If you can't do that, you don't even begin with emotional intelligence. You don't have the antenna in you to sense the emotions around you. Then how could you ever be emotionally intelligent? Now the second part, once you sense that emotions, how much are you aware of your own self, the emotion that you're experiencing, and that of the others as well. This has been very widely talked about. Third dimension of it is, how do you process this? It's striking a balance between rationality and emotion. Either of the extreme is not going to be so effective. So it's striking a balance. Now, all of the three, if you achieve all these three, what is the outcome? You have better relationship, you make better choices, you make better decisions. Comparatively. So that is the nutshell of balance that you talked about, Mukesh.
So, but then I noticed that you're writing a book and it's titled Emotional Intelligence, Reaching Escape Velocity in a Digital Era. So let me first, enlarge on the digital part of it. See, the fact is that if you're getting digital, then there is the scope for human interaction then becomes minimal. I mean, today you have AI, which you're talking about, artificial intelligence doing the work. So where does emotion come in then? Does AI replace AI?
Very true. There's a very interesting recent research which indicated that in the next 8 to 10 years, and you can already see the evidences in every home and every office, that 80% of our productive time is going to be involved in interacting with machines rather than with people. You see a family sitting in 4 corners of the room on their mobile phone already. More and more technology is going to be the interface for human beings. That's one thing. But of course, technology has brought in a lot of great things. I'm not a critic of technology. I enjoy it. I'm also participating in this new industrial revolution 4.0, wherein it has brought in convenience, it has brought in productivity, it has brought in comfort, it has brought cost benefits, immense benefits there.
And Reliance seems to be taking a big lead on that right now.
I think you would have heard the AGM the other day. You could see what's in the unfolding in the.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But we are very much there. So I am nowhere a critic of technology. But the smartness is that we need to compensate that human beings have got the risk of losing touch with interacting with other people. Just because they are losing in touch. In the ancient society, the earlier societies, there were joint families, they had a lot of communal get-together, there were interactions. So more and more, the movement is moving from joint family to nuclear family, from nuclear family to individualism, right? Everyone has their own space.
Correct.
So the risk of this that we need to manage very well, I'm not writing it off there. I think human beings are intelligent enough to correct themselves in the course of time. I wish and hope it happens in all walks of life. So this is an intelligence that we need to develop so that when we don't lose touch when dealing with people. According to World Economic Forum Davos, 2017 report, which is the continuously reporting, one of the key important future competency in the industry 4.0, which is digital era, is emotional intelligence, because you need to collaborate with people. What is going to differentiate people in the future? Collaboration, ability to manage conflict, ability to deal with complex problem, ability to deal with people. And that becomes a differentiating factor, because that's going to be possibly a lesser commodity.
So, when you say reaching escape velocity, that means that there is a certain gravitational pull that you need to kind of escape. Then only you go to space. So it's like therefore that right now people are getting pulled back, from going forth and developing their emotional intelligence, and that's why you use that word escape velocity.
I'm nowhere against the laws of gravity. I really appreciate it. I have no choice but to accept those laws. But I don't want to use it in a poetic sense. What I wanted to say here was, escape velocity is the velocity needed to escape from the gravitational force of the Earth. IQ takes you to a certain level of effectiveness, success in life. It might get you a job. It might get you a degree. It might get you a certain amount of recognition. You started performing. So you reach a certain level predominantly by IQ, which is your functional, mathematical, and logical.
Can I request people can just mute their mics, please? Kindly mute your mics, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, please. Yeah. Yes.
No problem. So it takes you at a certain level from the height of the Earth. That's a poetic expression that I had in mind. It takes you at a certain height. But you want to escape from the pull of ineffectiveness of gravity of the ordinary. You need to build your EI, for that matter, to take you to greater heights, to get to the escape velocity, to go to the galaxy and the other planets. That was a poetic imagination that I had. But in the real sense, let me put it: if you have the fuel to propel a rocket is equal to EI, and the rocket itself is the functional skills. Your emotional intelligence is going to fuel your functional skills and highlight it better.
Okay, well put. So, but what is this fuel? What is the constituent of this fuel? What is this EI? Please demystify some of it. It's a big word.
Right. So there are various ways of terminologies being used across the world, but they invariably mean the same. But I'm going to use the most popular components of EI. And I'll also tell you what it means in a little bit. There are 5 basic components. Some people break it to 6. It doesn't make a difference. This first component is self-awareness. Self-awareness means is the ability to understand your own emotions at any given point of time. Understand your strength and weakness and limitations. So that you have a fair idea of what's happening to you in terms of emotions at any point of time. there are a lot of people that they are not aware of the emotions that they're experiencing at that point of time. For example, you ask a very short-tempered person later,
Right.
short-tempered, well, nothing. It was that guy was the problem. I was fine.
Usually that's the way.
Yeah.
Right.
They are ignorant about the emotions that they're experiencing.
Right.
So that is lack of self-awareness, or they just don't know their limitations. They don't know their strengths and weaknesses. They're what they're capable of. So that impacts the self-esteem and self-confidence as well. And that comes across in the transaction if you interact in a couple of minutes, that the person has the self-esteem. So that is the first component of emotional intelligence. The second important component, in my opinion, is very, very significant, is self-regulation.
Okay.
If you understood, once you imagine that we take it for granted and we license that you already understood your emotions and experiencing at any point of time, how do you manage it? How do you deal with that emotions? And I would deliberately wanted to use a word called managing emotions, not controlling emotions.
Okay.
I don't want someone to feel angry and feel like he's been confined in a pressure cooker and want to abuse mentally and he's stressing himself out. That's what self-regulation is all about.
Okay.
That is a careful choice of word called self-management, regulating your emotions.
Okay.
What is regulating? The choosing to ignore, choosing to address, choosing to postpone, choosing to use humor. That point of time, how do you regulate the emotions? How do you channelize the emotions internally and externally to manage human interactions?
Okay.
And the third component is self-motivation. Is how much of internal drive, inertia, achievement orientation, result orientation that you have, that also is determined by emotional intelligence. If people with higher emotional intelligence have higher locus self-control, locus of control is higher. That means they don't need the world to come and tell them to do this and do that. They have an inner drive to do things.
Okay.
And that is fueled by emotional intelligence to a great extent.
I see. Okay.
The fourth component is empathy. Ability to understand the emotions in someone else and have a feeling for other person.
Right.
And act accordingly. It's a combination of not only having feeling, but also doing the right kind of regulation, managing. Right. Last but not the least is the social skills. If you have all these things together, ultimately you'll be able to deal with people and deal with situations much more effectively. So these are the 5 basic components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills.
It seems rather tough to do. No, I mean, a lot of regulation that you're talking about. So to that extent, how do you regulate your emotions? It's emotion is something that it comes out as an outburst. So therefore, you are you saying just by becoming more conscious, you will become more be able to regulate it better? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Like every form of development, whether it is physical or mental, you need to practice and exercise self-regulation. It just doesn't come automatically. Of course, there is a genetic advantage to some people. If the parents have a certain amount of high self-regulation, it does get passed on to the next generation. But it's not a guarantee that everyone who has got good self-regulation and emotional intelligence, one generation, you passed on to the next. Genetic is one component. So there's no point blaming genetics and not working on that anymore. So what we call that is, because my dad was like that, I'm like this. It's a good excuse that you can have or for that. But coming back to your question, it's a conscious exercise. The good news is researchers have very clearly established that IQ predominantly gets stagnated by the time you reach your age of 18 to 20. It doesn't increase so dramatically.
Right.
Emotional intelligence is a lifelong process. You can start developing when you're 70 years old. My appeal to people is don't wait for 70.
Is there a way to measure all this? And is there a way that, organizations can consciously steer people to kind of, develop their EI quotient in some form?
Absolutely. There are very conscious exercises available on developing EI, which I've very extensively dealt in my book. The book has got three components: what, why, and how.
Right.
The sequence of that. How is the significant part, because there are comparatively lesser literature on developing EI. There are more lopsided literature on why and what, right?
Right.
So if you want to develop, there are two components of developing EI. One is called as building EI,
Right.
another one is driving EI. Let me I'll divide in two parts. So you would be very surprised to note that our ancient Indian wisdom has been propagating in this for several centuries, and probably we could be the world leaders in propagating and building EI. By the way, Daniel Goleman did a research along with Dalai Lama on relationship between meditation and emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So he collaborated with them, and there are extensive literature which has been published, scientific literature, that the impact of meditation, very different forms of meditation, to emotional intelligence, genuine meditation, not the frivolous one. If you genuinely, so they are building EI has got three main pillars. Surprised to know that nothing of that is nuclear science, but it's tough to implement because we don't have the self-regulation to implement. That's a problem. For example, the first component is called as mindfulness. If you want to build emotional intelligence, I'm using the word mindfulness so that it appeals to all the audience, is nothing but meditation. So what does meditation actually do? It compels you to live in the present, to cut off the guilt and the problems of the past, the anxieties and the uncertainties of the future, and a few minutes that you're focused on that point, on that present moment. You're focusing on your breathing. You're focusing on nothing for that moment. When you're focusing on nothing, you're cutting off the past and the future. That is mindfulness. Now, you can follow any kind of meditation. And not only mindfulness is used predominantly in Buddhism, but doesn't mean your pranayama is a very, very powerful meditation exercise. Transcendental meditation is very powerful. Any of the meditation technique leads you to this path of mindfulness, being in the present for some period of time, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day. What it does is it disconnects the mind from all these tensions and problems and gives you the ability to manage emotions better. That creates that elasticity in your mind to manage emotions better. And our forefathers knew it centuries back, right? And we are not doing it on a regular basis. The second pillar,
if I may, since we're talking about EI, let's check with the people's own perception of their own EIs. Supposing we were to ask each person in this, in the group on the chat box, if you think that you're good with EI, then give yourself a score of a 5, and if you think your score is a 4 or a 3, which is slightly lesser, or maybe I don't know, is there anyone who thinks that I've got a 0? I hope not. So can I just see what are the scores people are rating themselves on? Okay, I can see a lot of 4s coming up. Okay, I haven't got a dollar sign yet. Somebody's giving himself a 7. Okay, Saurabh, that's really high. Okay, but largely it's between 2.5 is one person who's been perhaps honest enough, and a lot of people giving 6 and 7s. That seems to be a little beyond. 5 is the limit, boss. Let's not go beyond that. Okay, but people are rating themselves fairly high on EI, sir.
Yeah. So I think there are. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Is this you think that's the norm, or is it that we've got a more evolved groups sitting here today with us?
Yeah, it's two possibilities. One, their self-assessment is very accurate. The other possibility is that we actually don't know how to assess it very well. There are tools available which can assess fragment by fragment, component by component, your EI much better. So the book would have a self-assessment tool which you could very well use.
So they need to buy your book and actually do a reality check of actually if they are on a 5, if you're being rated yourself accordingly. So it's better to know where you stand with it. I mean, it can help you to become a more effective person in your
Right.
dealings. Is that right?
True.
Okay.
And but you need to be honest to yourself. I'm sure. I'm not saying
That is
anyone
right.
should be. You have to have first an understanding of
Right.
each of the element and then make an accurate self-assessment based on your past experiences. Mukesh,
Right.
would we allow me to do a small exercise with this participant?
Yeah, surely, sir.
So, in fact, just to summarize some of the discussion that we had until now, I'm going to share a presentation slide if you allow me right now.
I can help you if you like.
I'm ready with that. I'm absolutely fine.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Now, I want to ask a question to the participants right now. Whom would you like to choose a leader? What are the criteria on which you like to choose your leader? Your boss or your leader? You got option A and option B.
Right.
The choice is yours. Just type out either option
Okay.
A or
Yes.
B.
If you put it on the chat box, A or a B, I mean, nice to see what is your feeling on that. Is it an A or a B? Right. Okay. I can see a lot of B's, a few A's here, but a lot of B's coming out there. Okay.
Okay.
So I think it's clearly in favor of B.
In favor of B. Okay.
Yes.
That's
right.
quite understandable. But
Right.
just as we discussed, the irony of our selection process, as you rightly mentioned, Mukeshji, is all
Right.
tilted towards A. When
Right.
you go to a school examination or selection in many of the organizations, it is A is predominantly IQ, B is predominantly emotional intelligence.
So, but let me play devil's, advocate here. Surely it should be a combination of A and a B. I mean, it's not either or. You need a person who needs to know his job well as be, having all these attributes, which is under option B. Would you agree, sir?
Absolutely. So that's the reason there is a specific research done by Daniel Goleman on this subject.
Okay.
And he has given a percentage value to the importance of.
Oh, that's interesting to know.
He did his research in MIT, by the way. He did it on MIT students over a period of 10 to 12 years.
Okay.
And he gave a mathematical ratio of 80:20 between IQ and EQ.
Oh, as much as that, isn't it?
That's the percentage that he could relate to. And also there's one more interesting dimension. That's a little broad dimensional opinion. But if you go to fragmental opinion, what happens is if you draw a pyramid in an organization structure, when you are in the entry level or individual contributor level,
right,
you gradually go up to the level of a CEO managing a large organization.
Yes.
The importance of EI goes up and the importance of IQ comes down. Not that you have to be dumb to become a CEO. That's not the point. But I'm saying the usage and the importance and the applicability
right.
these two changes drastically when you climb up an organization because you're essentially managing people. You're not actually dealing with mathematical problems and situations and making.
Yeah, but if I may say so, CEOs are, their fate is decided by the performance of the organization in terms of top and bottom lines, or the share price of their stock. And yet, if EI is what is that significant, then how come their evaluation does not include a factor of EI in their evaluation?
Very true. That's one of the best quotations on this subject in Riman, that generally we tend to hire people based on their functional skills and we fire or people fail based on their behavior ultimately. It's the way that they deal with situations and people and behavior. That's the irony of life. You think of last 10 people that you had to let go, it was invariably behavior. He was not focused, he had problems, he had conflicts, he couldn't get along with people. Unfortunately, the selection system, right from the education to here, has to move toward organizations that started realizing it, but I think that importance will go up gradually more and more. The reason for that, Mukeshji, what is not measured is not talked about. You cannot measure the challenges a CEO had in dealing with people, but his sales figures are flashed. So hard data kills soft data to a great extent. Until it blows up to a certain extent, becomes very evident.
Right.
We don't have the science to start predicting the implications of soft data. Data here, I mean the behavioral challenges, the conflict between teams, conflict between people, and how is it impacting the business? So that measurement is still not evolved for that matter.
Right, right. Hey, sir, I just bring you back to another this thing. You mentioned something called emotional firewall. Yeah, what exactly, is that expression mean?
Yeah, in fact, I use it in my social media post as well. What I meant by
Yes.
self-regulation is the emotional firewall. Just
Right.
like your hardware and software system needs to be protected from the onslaught of viruses,
Right,
onslaught of intrusions from outside,
right, right,
your human is facing a tremendous amount of messages, negative communication, stimulus all around the day.
right.
So self-regulation is the firewall by which you protect yourself. So from the onslaught of these messages, you need to regulate. If you let the firewall down, the breach of this emotional firewall is going to make the emotions and the stimulus and the messages from outside is going to drift your emotions in the way it likes. So you need to protect yourself by creating a firewall, which is nothing but self-regulation. So self-regulation is the firewall for you, emotional firewall for you.
Okay, okay.
Would you allow me a quick exercise, one more, if you don't mind?
Yes, yes. No, certainly, sir.
This is something that, can you see this slide, please?
Yes, it says emotional diary.
Emotional diary. So I wanted you, all of you, to know you can do this exercise after this workshop. You don't need to be too much worried right now. I've designed a very detailed questionnaire for that, but in this exercise, I want to just give you the gist of it.
Right.
The slide. So every one of us, we talked about the emotional firewall. So you have positive emotions that you experience every day, and you've got negative emotions that you experience every day.
Right.
All human beings cannot escape this onslaught of messages which is coming to us.
Right.
If you have more of positive emotions that you express in a day, or you're experiencing in a day, or you have more of negative emotions. So I have designed a questionnaire based on the last 1 or 2, 3 months. What is the emotions that you're experiencing more often in the in the near term?
Right.
All the positive emotions have got a plus point, and all the negative has got 1 minus. And ultimately, you land up something called an emotional residue. If your emotional residue is negative, that means you've got all the reason, all the probability of being unhappy, strained relationship, and poor health, and etc., etc. On the other hand, the positive emotions are what your residue is. To have. So it's we take stock of a lot of things in our life. We take stock of our finances, we take stock of our properties, and a lot of work in hand. I think it's high time we take stock of our emotions once in a while. Because
so if I may say, it looks like an emotional bank. There's a debit and a credit. And if you are kind of depositing less and withdrawing more, you'll go broke. And that's why you get emotionally hit. On the other hand, you've got more positive deposit, then your residue will be higher, and you'll be happier and better. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the last point on this, Mukherjee, I want to say the choice is exactly with us in many cases. We tend to blame the whole world. You have the choice to cut off excessive negative media. You have the choice of cutting off excessive social media to bring you the negative sentiments. Everything. See, remember, negative emotions get registered in our brain much stronger than positive emotions. And that's what the media exploits, because that's what sells. Because they know that's what gets registered more. So your choice is to what to register more, what to ignore more, and then create a positive or negative residue in your life.
No, thank you very much, sir. Is there some more, any concluding, message that you'd like to leave for this audience? We've kind of almost run out of time. So a few parting words would like.
My
part from mindfulness, the other two were not told. Mindfulness plus another two you were about to say, then.
Mindfulness. Second is resilience. Resilience has got the following components: is ability, the right kind of food, the right kind of physical activity, the adequate sleep. Lack of all these three things lead to poor resilience and hence poor emotional intelligence. The third component was compassion. Mindfulness, resilience, and compassion. And compassion is when you are compassionate towards others and you are showing empathy towards others, it enhances your emotional intelligence. There are a lot of researchers to prove that as well. So there are three basic pillars of building emotional intelligence: is mindfulness, resilience, which is continues of physical activity, mental, spiritual activity, which we are meditation that we talked about, food habits, and sleeping habits. If you have adequate sleep, and you don't need anyone to educate on you. If you have poor sleep for a couple of days, you have irritated mood, and you have poor food, junk food, you have indigestion, you have problem in your emotions. So when you balance this, all the three build something called emotional fuel,
Right.
emotional reservoir. So when you are facing with positive, negative emotions, you can consume that energy, emotional energy, or the emotional reservoir. So
Thank you, Raj. Thank you for asking that question. We would have missed that.
Yeah.
So if I may say, then, just to conclude, they say that IQ is what you're saying is just a threshold competence. It won't make you a star. Right? Would that be fair to say?
Yeah,
I also read somewhere another saying here. It takes something more than intelligence to act intelligently, and perhaps EQ is the answer for that.
to a great extent. Yes, I agree. There are 28 human competency which get influenced by emotional intelligence. 28 competence, human,
right?
Managing people, dealing in different situations, etc. So that extra component is surely emotional intelligence. Let me also tell you the multiple Garner intelligence theory. For example, innovation, for that matter, creativity, innovation, ability to create new things, also stems from emotional intelligence to a great extent. Because if you are a poor emotional intelligence, you don't have the patience, you don't have the regulation. You think something and then you discard it next day. You suddenly change your mind. Your moods are different. You're driven by your moods and fancies rather than by your choices.
Right. Yeah, I think your the big takeout from this is that EQ has been understated, and thanks to this session, it's raised our awareness about EQ, and we need to become a little bit more. I can see that Mr. Rangarao has kind of put that statement there. I endorse that, and I think we need to kind of become a little bit more aware about how we can enlarge our EQ factor. All right, is that right, sir? Okay, so we've kind of more or less come to an end of this program. Are there any other questions that I can see some people have posted lots of questions. We may not be able to do justice to all of them. I will send them to you, and maybe we'll get a chance to answer some of that. Yeah. But let's see if we can take one or two other questions here. If it is this thing. Okay. Okay, I think they're kind of more or less resonant with what you have got to say, sir. Yeah. No, so thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure, for you to share your insight. We're looking forward to reading your book, which I'm sure will get published out in a few weeks from now, and we will certainly be, that much more aware about, this very, very critical factor which we have so far ignored in our lives. So thank you, Professor. Thank you so much for your time. I'd only end by saying that, again, this is yet another session. In 1 hour's time, we've kind of, requested Puru sir to kind of condense everything and put it into, one session. Obviously, to do justice to the topic, it's a deep subject. For you to know more, it'll be only appropriate that you read into this, into the book that is forthcoming book that's going to come out. We will post it on our web site. We will, so do take the liberty to get hold of a copy and this thing. I'm sure if you have questions to ask after that, Puru sir, we can always reach out to Puru sir, and he will be happy to kind of engage with you on that. But for you to keep aware of, we've been doing this DHAKAD program every Friday, and I hope you enjoyed this session. We somehow seem to have missed a lot of your email IDs and phone numbers. If you want to be party to more such programs, kindly put down your email IDs or your phone numbers so that we can reach out to you even now on the WhatsApp group, so that we are able to connect with you and keep you informed of what is happening. We're also planning to do more detailed programs, which are enlarging, on leadership and sales areas. So the two key areas that we are focused on, and those programs will be, 6 programs, which we will bundle into over 6 weeks, each session of 100 minutes duration. There will be a small cost for it. In case you are interested in, knowing more and enhancing your capabilities on leadership areas, and emotional intelligence is one critical part of that emotional journey that you will negotiate. Similarly, we are offering some sales programs. Feel free to kind of reach out to us and post to us, and we will, be happy to engage with you and share the details of the program. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Thank you again, Puru sir. Thank you very much for your, valuable insight into a subject that we don't really, we were always grappling to understand. So thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you very much for inviting me for the session. It's always a pleasure, Tejji.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mukesh. And
Thank you, both of you. I am really, really excited to see you. I will again be seeing you next Friday, same time, on the same platform, with the same DHAKAD series. Jai Hind Zindabad. Good night.